Hey, what's up? Me again. Today I've got the Kontrol S49 keyboard from Native Instruments in front of me. And if any of you out there are looking at how to use this with Ableton Live or thinking about using one with your komplete library and how the sounds integrate with one another, then this video might be for you. So stick around and we'll show you how it all works. So first things first, you're probably going to want to make sure you've got this installed, which is Native Access. This is how you manage all of your sounds from komplete. The S49 comes with komplete select, which is like 35 gigs of sound samples and effects. It's pretty awesome. And you definitely want to make sure you go over to updates and run any updates on the komplete Kontrol software before you get started. The komplete Kontrol software is pretty instrumental when it comes to running it with your digital audio workstation, as it's how you browse and manage and view and play all the sounds that come with komplete, but also third-party plugins as well. So I'll elaborate on that a little bit later. First things first, you're going to want to go to your preferences in Ableton Live. Now this is obviously compatible with Logic. Never used Logic before, so you have to work it out for yourself, sorry. But all major digital audio workstations, I'm an Ableton Live user, so we're going to stick here today. You want to go to Link MIDI and make sure that you've got the komplete Kontrol control surface selected and have these selected as well. And then here, you're going to want to make sure that you have all of these checked so that now the komplete Kontrol keyboard will be visible with Live and that it will integrate and work as it should, okay? So now I'm in a session, I've got a few tracks set up, and let's just take a look at how the keyboard works with navigating with Live. When you see this here where it says default MIDI template, that means that on the track that you've got selected, which is currently my kick, there's no instance of komplete Kontrol setup, okay? So again, komplete Kontrol is the plugin that works on any individual MIDI track, which allows you to browse for all of your sound samples and effects from komplete, all right? At the moment, I've just got the keyboard selected on a kick track, which is a drum rack, which has a series of kick drums in it. And literally, I've just got a clip load up in Live with a few kick drums that I've selected. So nothing super crazy. But if I use this really awesome like joystick, jog wheel thingy, it allows me to navigate about my session. And you can see here on these little lights that they've got like this kind of highlighted section, which sort of shows you which way you can move within your session. So you've got this and this, indicating that I can kind of go across and down. So if I click across, it'll actually navigate to the next track, right? And this track is a track I have, which is a bunch of drum racks. It's got a bunch of claps in it. Got it from a sample pack. Next one I've got is more percussive elements, percussion, so on and so forth. So nothing Native Instruments as yet, but if I move over to the next track, you'll see that on the display, the visual changes because we have an instance of komplete Kontrol loaded as a plugin on my track here. And if I open it up, you'll see that I have the same patch load up and it's showing me, because it's an integrated system, what's going on. So this is an instance of Feel It. It's a play series instrument, or contact instrument. And I have like all of the encoders that are pre-mapped to all of the parameters on that synthesizer, and it works really well. Right? Really great. This allows you to kind of like add plugins. I'll get to that in a second, so I won't get too far ahead. If I navigate to the next track, this is another instance of a play series instrument. That's called Ignition Keys. And again, on the MIDI track, the plugin has its own look. This is what it looks like. And yeah, you can see again, it's got all the encoders pre-mapped to all of those parameters that you need for this particular instrument. So you can see the integration is really tight, right? And it's really immediate. And it's something that I really enjoy when using something like this. And that's all due to the NKS, which is the Native Control Standard protocol that Native Instruments has. Basically like an open source kind of code that allows the integration of these software plugins with the controller. Next track I have here, I have an instance of Analog Dreams, and I have a vocal loop as well. So I'll get to that in a second. If I hit this button here, DAW, this actually allows me to visualize all of my audio tracks directly on my display. So I've got a bit of a drum groove set up already. I'll navigate to those. If I hit play, you can see there that you get all of the visuals straight away from my mixer, which is really awesome. And these encoders allow you to change the volume. These buttons up here allow you to hit mute. If you hit shift, you can select solo, which is really handy for being able to immediately change or make adjustments to your mix, right? Great. And if you use this jog wheel again, you can navigate through all of these different tracks that you have, including sends and your master, to be able to make those adjustments. Yeah. So really useful stuff, and it's something that you'll use a lot of. You'll notice if you're on a track that doesn't have an instance of complete control, that these buttons here become grayed out. They're not highlighted. That's because it's looking for an instance of complete control. So if I navigate to one that does, you'll see now I have the plugin button and the browser button available. Now what these allow you to do is allows you to switch the view from the DAW mode, right? So changing the volumes and the mutes and sends and whatever to your actual plugin, all right? And being able to control it using these buttons. So it's kind of like, multitasking. The browser mode is really useful. This allows you to browse through all of your sounds, samples, and effects that come within Complete Control, something that I just showed you, which you would have installed through native access, right? And the great thing about this is it gives you this really great visualization of all of the instrument titles that you have installed. And you can search for them for all via the different categories that it has. It has this really great tag-based browsing system, which is really useful, especially when you're looking for a particular sound. There's nothing worse than opening up a project and looking for a bass sound and having 8 million bass presets and just not really knowing which one to go through. It can be a bit of a headache. Being able to search for specific categories through specific instruments is a really useful tool. And I'll give you an example. So this one here I have, for instance, already set up. I can go ahead and switch the category from any of these. So say, okay, I'll go bass, and I want the subtype to be, a synth, and I can go through all the different characteristics. All right, so like dark, digital, dirty, etc. So if I navigate to say something like the Jupiter 8V from Arturia, I can go through and browse through all the different categories. So say something like bass. And it will list all of the bass presets down here, and I can audition them with this encoder here, which is a really speedy way of finding your sound, because it actually auditions the patch for you before you load it. Something I feel can be underlooked when kind of going through your creative process and looking for an actual sound. Of course, you can change the subtype as well, so you can go analog bass, digital bass, distorted bass, etc. And it will list all of those along the side there. So it's a really useful tool. Directly from the controller, all right? So I'm not, on my computer and my mouse going through my Finder, etc., and looking for all those patches. They're all just there, ready to go, including third-party products as well, which is a really, really useful and handy thing. So if I go back to plugin, here I am on that patch I already had loaded. Cool. Over here, I've got my transport section, so play, record, stop. Auto is automation, so if you're going to do some automation throughout performance, it will record that into a clip or into your session. You've got your metronome, as well as a really handy undo, redo button. All of those kind of boring sort of like utilitarian buttons are super useful. You use them all the time, and they should never really be underlooked, particularly when it comes to kind of going back and fixing up mistakes as well. I'll come to the play assist button in a second, so let's just lay down a bit of a groove first. So I've already got a bit of a groove set up with some drum sounds. And from here, it's really just about building the track up from the bass line. That's generally the place I like to start when it comes to making a track. The bass line sort of sets the tone, the groove, the key, and the real mood of the track. And so that's what I'm going to do in this instance with this track here. So, you know, first thing to do, run the beat, have a bit of a jam. Cool, I like that. I'm going to press record, and what it's going to do is it's going to record this pattern directly into this clip slot here, right? Because what I forgot to mention is that every time you have a track selected, it will automatically pre-arm the track, meaning that it can be played and recorded, which is really useful. So I'm just going to hit record. It's going to give me a 1-bar count in, and I'm just going to lay down my groove. Cool, so if I double click on that clip slot now, you can see that this is all my MIDI notes. And if I hit this button up here, quantize, that's going to fix any timing imperfections that I might have had during that performance. So click that, you can see it's just adjusted those relative to the 16th grid or the 8th grid value that I've got set up. And that will adjust that to relative to whatever you have already set up. And you need to do that within your project. Great. So let's come to the keys themselves with the light scale, which I haven't mentioned yet. There's a really useful feature that I use a lot when it comes to these keyboards is the light scale, and you can activate that using the play assist button, okay? This is how you can actually use the keyboards to tell you what notes are in a particular scale that you choose, right? And so if you hit the shift button and you turn it on, you'll notice that the behavior of the lights changes, okay? And what it's showing me now is the notes that I have set up in a particular scale, which is an E flat minor scale, okay? And so all the notes I have will highlight, meaning that those are the notes in that scale, which is a really useful thing because it helps you kind of stay in key and come up with a melody that's sort of like harmonically correct, all right? And so it's something I use a lot. There's also an arpeggiator. I haven't got it engaged at the moment, but again, if you're looking for some kind of like, you know, creative, you know, patterns, using the arpeggiator is super useful as well. But I'll move on. So the next element I want to lay down is some chord stabs. It wouldn't be a deep house groove if we didn't have some chords. I have this instrument called Ignition Keys. Again, if you want to browse through all of the different presets that come within that, hit the browse button. Lots of really great like organ presets, pianos, all that kind of stuff, lots of Rhodes sounds and all that kind of thing as well, which is really good. And now I forgot to mention, if you use this little button here, you can actually cycle between all of the different parameter pages that are available for these instruments. So you're not just limited to the first 8, you can actually really dive deep and make all of your adjustments, and that every parameter assigns to all of those encoders that are directly there, okay? Use the octave buttons to go up. Cool, again, I'm gonna hit the record button and it's gonna give me a 1-bar count in, and I can lay down my groove. Again, if I go to the clip itself, double click, you can see there's all my MIDI events. I hit the quantize button, quantizes it, fixes any timing imperfections, and then we can move on. Cool. Now I have another patch set up. This here is an instance of Analog Dreams. Something I really like to use is add like a pad sound that has a lot of motion and movement, just to kind of like give the track a bit of kind of like feeling of rhythm. And you can really hear like the cutoff filter being modulated by the LFO in this particular patch. It has like a bit of an imprecise timing about it, which kind of makes it flow with the groove of the drums and the hats. So let's lay that down as well. Cool, so that might be a good opportunity to actually talk a little bit more about the play assist button. So in this scenario, I'm playing this chord sound, and it's actually triggering a chord just by playing one note. You'll see when I press this note here, it lights up 3 other notes, and that's because I've got it engaged in the harmonic chord mode, right, in this section. So it's still playing all the notes in that particular scale, but I've got the 1, 3, 5, or a sort of like a minor triad chord shape being played. And this position button here, what that does is it sort of changes the voicing of the position of the chord, kind of allowing you to kind of like come up with more creative chord types. This is a really useful thing for myself, particularly because my music theory is, a little bit limited. So being able to quickly come up with some chord progressions just using this light scale and chord mode function is really, really useful. Cool, next sound I have loaded up is a vocal loop. Now the great thing about Komplete Kontrol, the software, is that it not only hosts MIDI plugins and instruments, it'll also include vocal, like audio loops, okay? So if you've got some sample packs loaded in your browser, you can actually navigate to them. In this instance, I've got some, they're called expansions. They're genre-specific sounds, samples, and effects from Native Instruments. But if you've got any third-party sample packs installed on your system, they'll work just fine. And it's really great because you can just double-click and load them up, and it will give you this. It actually loads the audio within the sample module, allowing you to trigger that audio with the keys on your keyboard. And there's a lot of stuff you can do with the sampler module, and you can change it, repitch it, time stretch it. I'm gonna keep it pretty straight for now, and just lay this down as is. All right, so again, record gives me 1 bar count in. Great. So, I've kind of fleshed out a bit of a tune here. The sort of basic bare bones structure of it's kind of all there, and I'd spend some time, arranging it in the arranger view. So before I move on, let's just quickly talk about effects, because it's absolutely possible to incorporate effects directly from the controller within the Komplete Kontrol software. If I open up the plugin on the computer to give you the software view, you can see here on this instance of Ignition Keys, I've got the instrument itself, and in the effects chain, I've got an instance of Chorus June 6, which is an emulation of the Juno Chorus by Arturia. And I also have a really subtle delay by this plugin called Replica from Native Instruments, okay? And so it's a really great way of incorporating all of your effects directly within Komplete Kontrol, and just speeds up the workflow, and you don't have to manage it, on your channel view. And you can actually access it directly from the controller as well using these 2 buttons. So there's my instrument, there's my chorus, and there's the replica delay. If I wanted to add another one, all I need to do is press browser, and this takes me straight to all of my effects plugins. So here there's, for instance, there's a an effect called Raw, which is a really beautiful ethereal reverb plugin from Native Instruments. And I can cycle through all of the different presets that are available for that particular effect right here. Click load, and you can see now that's loaded that directly to the track, which is a really, really useful thing when it comes to, you know, experimenting with all your effects that you might have available, whether they're Native Instruments or third-party plugins like Arturia plugins as well. How this works is through the NKS format, which I mentioned earlier, Native Control Standard. Basically, this means that lots of software manufacturers are able to incorporate their products within the Native Instruments ecosystem. Very nice. Cool, so that's pretty much it for now. In case you're wondering, it's all being powered by this single USB-C to C cable, which is plugged into my MacBook Pro, which is where all the MIDI is going through as well. It's MIDI over USB-C. If you have all those boxes checked in your MIDI preferences in your software, that will allow the computer to talk with your software directly just by that cable. So it's pretty amazing that you only need one cable to power it and to play and to access all these plugins directly from your keyboard. If you're still with me, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like me to demo next, or if you have any questions, please bang them in the comments below. We'll get back to you. But until next time, we'll see you later. Hey, what's up? Me. But if you've got any third-party sample packs,